All right, welcome back to another episode of How I Met Your Mortgage. As always, I'm your host, Adam Smith, with Just the Tips Coaching, and with me, pretty much as always, and frankly, you guys are lucky that you get as much of her as you do of me. Our marketing director, one of our other coaches, all around superhuman, Jen Waybor. Hey, Jen,
Hi, Adam.
how are you?
Good, I think.
Okay. Yeah, a
Thanks.
lot of chaos. Being an adult is really well, it's very time consuming and it's very expensive and nobody warned you.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All
All
right.
those
So
things.
we have Jen and I have an amazing guest for you guys today. One of our closest and dearest friends. In fact, we were both kind of stunned that we have not had this guest on the podcast before in our 6th year, booked through our 7th year next year. And we have yet to welcome this guest. So you guys are all in for a big treat. Welcome to the show, Scott, the mortgage doc, Edwards. Hey, Scotty.
How you doing?
I'm doing all right, man. So, Scott, you've obviously seen a handful, if not most or all of the episodes, or probably listened to is more likely, of How I Met Your Mortgage. So the format isn't unfamiliar to you.
Nope.
You've obviously got a grip on who our audience is because you're part of it.
Mhm.
You and all the other people in your office, and even Don and Gino have participated some. In fact, Jen, we should have Don and Gino on this show. Probably not
Absolutely.
together because that's a lot. They are both big personalities. But yeah, getting them booked on the show would be fantastic. But Scott, I want to certainly give our audience a little bit of background about Scott, about the doc,
Sure.
how that all came about. But I don't think it's any secret to you or to us or to a lot of people that run in our tight little circle about how that developed. And more importantly, what you've been up to in recent years when it comes to client appreciation, referral partner appreciation, advocate appreciation, all the events that circumnavigate. So if you don't have a problem with that, I'd love to pick your brain about it for our audience. All right. So give us some background. How did Scott Edwards come about to be in the mortgage space?
God, it was that's a testament to my uncle. My uncle Mark. He lived in my house with my mother and I, and he got in the mortgage business. He worked at a place called Easy Home Loans up here in Santa Clarita. And I think it was my senior year in high school. I remember going by and picking him up or hanging out with him. He's more like an older brother than an uncle. And I remember him watching him make phone calls on title leads, which for those of us who've been around a long time. Yep. Know what those are. And I was like, oh, that'll be fun. I could do that. I could make some phone calls. And 21 years later, here I am.
Damn. It is rare that it's actually really rare that I find somebody that's been doing this longer than I have. I did run into a person at a realtor board social event last week, Dave Williams. David, shout out to you. It was good to see you, buddy. But you don't hear about a new mortgage originator.
No.
I mean, the bar is high. It's certainly a lot of work. It is complex. It's obviously like real estate. It's more than one job. You've got to know your shit when it comes to being in mortgages.
Yep.
And you've got to know your shit when it comes to how to get mortgages.
Absolutely.
Or how to get buyers and sellers if you're on the real estate side. In my mind, it's the same job. And obviously our coaching program is very, very similar for both loan originators and for real estate agents. So that goes without saying. So tell us about the evolution of the mortgage doc.
So here's another.
You know, I'm opening up an opportunity to call you on this shit again.
I know.
All right. Hit us.
So this is another shout out to another family member of mine, actually. So my cousin, Nick Smith, worked with me. And I, at the time, was like, phone book A. So let's go with Ask Scott the Mortgage Doc, or Ask Scott Mortgages. That's what it was originally. And I thought, oh, that would be funny, a play on words. We're an Ask Scott. But you pull around people. People don't know what an ascot is.
The hell's an ascot? Right. Yeah. Now I know you're old. Okay.
Yeah. So I thought it'd be funny. There's actually some footage he has somewhere of me wearing an ascot doing these little, anyway, funny videos, but it just didn't sit. It was one of those things that you had to explain too much. And so because of that, he was sitting around. He said, well, what about Ascot, the mortgage doc? I went, oh. Then over the years, it's developed into me wearing a stethoscope. I did try the lab coats too much. You know, people
Too much.
think I'm like a doctor. I'm not saving anybody in, other than my first aid certification. But
there's a fine line between loan originator and proctologist. But
that is
ahead.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes. But no, I mean that's where it started, and then we saw each other at a conference, and now my pre-approval letters are prescription pad. I mean, just these little elements of things that I add, and then we've got the little mortgage doc.
We were talking about this before we went live. I have a bunch of little mortgage docs, and there's obviously all kinds of great social media campaigns around the little mortgage doc. And for those of you listening that don't already know Scott, that aren't following Scott, just do a Google search on Little Doc, the Little Mortgage Doc, or the Mortgage Doc, and you'll be able to track him down. It's kind of a where in the world is Carmen Sandiego kind of theme,
right.
And Little Doc travels all over the damn globe. I've seen him sipping whiskey in Ireland.
Yes.
He's been to a number of conferences here in Denver, and that list probably isn't over even for this year.
That's right.
So yeah, a lot of cool stuff with that ideology about Little Doc and his worldly travels. But yeah, I've got a bunch of Little Docs, and not one of them is here in my home office. I really wanted to glue him to my microphone so that he could participate. But we'll do that next time around.
He'll have to have his own podcast. I think it's really what has to happen.
Oh no, that's funny. All right. So, Scott, you've been through our entire coaching program.
Yes.
And obviously, you are a big believer. You've been a heavy participant in promoting our stuff, certainly with your organization, with Momentum Builder, so on and so forth. And, we appreciate it. We love you. It's family at this point.
Absolutely.
But one of the things that really developed for us and you over the course of all of that when we were working one-on-one is this robust amount of events, essentially. You have really become a shining star when it comes to your ambassador program, which is really kind of obviously we break everything down into clients, leads, and advocates, and you certainly focus heavily on your best advocates and having events for them. And for those of you that aren't familiar with JTT or aren't regulars on How I Met Your Mortgage, clients, leads, and advocates, anybody that's done business with you, is going to do business with you, or could refer business to you. Now, the neat thing about that is that's pretty much everybody, because everybody either owns real estate, wants to, or knows somebody who does. So if we're really smart about our contact database, and certainly as we narrow it down to advocates, referral partners, and obviously having gone through the modules on referral partner relationships kind of spawned a lot of this, but that's certainly a piece of it. You're also really big on doing some client appreciation events, and I'm not going to spill all the beans because I want you to do that when it comes to what type and how cool they are, and that I'm willing to jump on a plane to go to Santa Clarita just to do these kinds of things, because you're so great about legitimately rolling out the red carpet for these people that you love, your clients, your advocates. So yeah, give us a little feedback. Where did it start? What were the first events that you started putting together?
Yeah, so it really started with a guy named Michael Mayer, and I got to give a shout out to him, right? So he wrote the book, The 7 Levels of Communication. I met him back in 2013, I think is what we determined. And he had this idea of this housewarming party, and it just opened my mind into this whole other world of being able to generate business, right? So, or opportunities. And so years later, he and I connected with each other again, and I realized I really wanted to do more events. I wanted to do events. And so I started off with doing a movie event because I knew the movie was going to do all the marketing for me, right? I didn't have to worry about if people were going to come because I knew they were going to want to come see the movie at least, right? So, and then it was just adding in all the elements of getting people to want to come to the movie.
All right,
Right,
and
so-
we've seen you do a lot of this.
Yes.
Turtles,
Yeah. We
Little
just did that.
Mermaid.
Well, not Little Mermaid, but we did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
We did Turtles
on
instead
Saturday.
of Mermaid. I know we
That's
did a couple
correct.
of superhero ones.
We did a lot of superhero
We did a
ones,
Mission
yeah.
Impossible.
Top Gun.
Top Gun Maverick, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm confusing mine.
That's all good.
You know that movie where he plays the
I
cocky
know.
young guy?
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
He's like the same guy in every movie.
Tom Cruise is not typecast. Right.
That's right.
Okay, so because everybody wants to know, are we
Yes.
doing Barbie?
We are not doing Barbie.
All right, keep going. Keep going.
Yeah, so we did Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles just literally this last Saturday, and it's probably one of our best movie events we've done. We had so many cool little elements. I mean, we have all the good stuff, all this standard stuff is where everyone gets a concession stand, candy. But this time, because it was Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, we all got kung fu outfits. So we were all in kung fu outfits. I was wearing a little Tai Chi shoes, and
All right, they weren't little, I'm sure.
no, they were not little.
Yeah, for those of you that don't know, Scott's a fairly big guy. In fact, I'm a fairly big guy, and I'm a little guy next to Scott. So, yeah, they were not little, but you were in like full-blown ninja garb.
Full on. Me, Rick, and John were all ready to go. And but we had a surprise performance, which was we had a karate studio come in. Actually, just a 12-time world champion, 3rd degree black belt, a 4th degree black belt, and they came in, did a whole demonstration. It was absolutely incredible. And then at the end, to top it off, me, Rick, and John, we all broke some boards.
Cool.
So,
That's awesome.
yeah, so that was my favorite piece of the event. And then we have a DJ, we have an MC, it's a party, we got giveaway prizes at the end. I mean, it's all about, to me, it's about value, right? I want to make sure that when people come, they walk away going, wow, right? This is it. This wasn't just a movie. It was like I came to a party. And so that's what everything we do when it comes to our events. So we've got
Right, hang on, because
please.
There's something I want our audience to gather, and it wouldn't have even occurred to me in this conversation, except that I had a similar experience to what you're intentionally doing. But many years ago, maybe more than a decade, I was in leadership at a local realtor board, and we were doing a lot of events, luau's and Cinco de Mayo, and so on and so forth. And because of however the laws are, we had to bring in a licensed bartender to actually serve booze.
Right.
So we found this guy. Shout out to Ray. I went by this local realtor board, I don't know, mostly just to stir the pot because I have a big spoon. And they've still got Ray pouring drinks at their social events. And in fact, Ray poured drinks at my older son's bar mitzvah 6 or 7 years ago. He's still going at it. And we certainly remembered each other, so on and so forth. And it really made me think about the relationship you have with your DJ.
Oh, yeah.
In fact, this cat traveled to Vegas
He did.
to DJ the pool party at Caesars after Momentum Builder.
Yeah.
That's how tight you guys are. Because everything you do is relationship business.
Absolutely. He is like, if you're doing an event, if anybody's watching this and you're like, oh, I'm going to do an event, music, I mean, even in our coaching, right? You talked about the 3 songs.
We do.
Right? I mean, music is so powerful to changing and adding a whole element of the event and changing it, right? So when we added the DJ and MC into the movie theater, I mean, it's a party. He's getting everybody downstairs and dancing, hula hoop contests. I mean, Top Gun, we had the volleyball scene with the kids. I mean, it's just like so many fun, cool things going on during the movie that the music adds a whole new element. And then it's not just music, it's the MC part, right?
He's
getting them engaged,
Yeah,
right? So I shout out to DJ Max at Amplified Entertainment. I mean, he'll travel everywhere. The guy's a rock star. He's got an incredible team. Sasha, Jason, they're all rock stars, and I cannot give them bigger shout outs than I can right now. So huge shout out to them.
All right. Tell us about the ambassador events. Because this is one we really got to see the inside workings of and hopefully lend a little bit of valuable opinion and shaping. But this is something that was relatively new to you.
It was.
And it's developed really well.
It has. So,
Okay.
So we've got our 3 big events. I'll just real quickly, we have our movie event in the summer because it's hot as hell. And then we've got our holiday extravaganza, which is our pie day. We got sledding and snow, and we actually bring in
Santa.
snow. Santa, yeah. We're bringing snow because we
Not
don't
a
have
lot
snow.
of snow in Santa Clarita.
There's no snow in
Okay.
Santa Clarita. It's 100 degrees outside. So we bring it in so kids can do some sledding. It's a ton of fun. So that's our big end of the year event. And then we do a miniature golf tournament in April. Those are our 3 big events.
Okay.
Then we want to do smaller
These are your
events.
big client-centric events.
Clients, but more so community.
Okay.
Right. So, I consider every one of my clients family. So I open it to them, the community. Right. So, everybody in our board of ambassadors invites people. So it's really our big community at large, more so than just our clients. So, but I wanted to do something that was smaller. Right. So that was more intimate, because the big events are great. But I wanted to have something that was more intimate. And so we created the board of ambassadors. And the thought process behind that was an opportunity for us to break bread, get to, really get to know each other on a personal level with all of our people that we consider ambassadors of ours. I mean, attorneys, realtors, financial advisors. I mean, the list goes on. I mean, it's just anybody that you would consider an advocate. Right?
Ninjas, apparently.
Absolutely. Ninjas. I have a karate studio now. So it was an opportunity for us to really flip the script. I think is one thing I was looking at this. I was just talking to somebody, and our events generate business, right? And so the question is, for those that are watching, like, why do we do these events? So networking groups, right? If you think about it, right? If you meet every week, right? You're meeting every week, and you have to think of the 5 or 10 people you met that week for the 30 people in the room that are going to need their services, right? So not the easiest thing to always think about, because it's not naturally something you probably do on a regular basis.
Yep.
The way we do our events, instead of meeting once a week, we meet once a quarter. Okay. And we do these big events, and we have everyone that comes in fill out our door prize entry form. Very simple, right? We let everybody know that afterwards we're going to reach out to you, but really they're all yes or no questions. And they're questions like, are you sure you have enough insurance coverage? Would you like a free professional review? Right. So it's just them raising their hand and saying, yes, I'd love to connect with you. Right. So that way, instead of tapping into thinking of the 10 people I spoke to this week, now we've tapped into the 300 people that came to the event on Saturday. Right. And all of the things that they need help with. So it's just a different way of how we flipped it, in the sense of just weekly, and thinking of just the 10 or 5 people we saw that week to everybody in our sphere, in our community, in our world, right? And then on top of it, inviting people. Those phone calls are great. I mean, when I say, hey, I'm inviting you to a movie event or a holiday extravaganza or miniature golf, they love talking about that. I mean, they're a welcomed phone call. So because it doesn't cost them anything.
Jen and I weren't privy to the questionnaire that went along with the last movie event, but there was one.
Yes.
Are you a turtle? Do you like pizza? Do you need a ninja?
That's right.
Got it. Okay. Cool. For those of you that are too young to catch the TMNT references, there.
It was a good movie, by the way.
Is it good?
It was a good movie.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So the ambassador event, we're talking a few dozen people, not a few hundred.
That is correct. So I try to cap it about 30 to 35. That's including us. So
far more intimate.
Absolutely.
If memory serves, more like a sit-down dinner.
Yep. Okay. So it's a full-on dinner we have a chef come out and explain. So we go to the restaurant ahead of time. So, and we talk to the chef and we say, hey, we want a specific menu for this. Right. So it's a selective menu. I do poll and make sure everyone's like dietary or allergies are taken care of. So we're accommodating those. But the chef comes out.
I'll take a kosher meal.
Exactly. Right. So kosher, dairy and gluten-free, we have that. Right. So all of the above. Right. So, but the chef comes out and he creates this incredible meal. And when he comes out, he shares an experience, a story about every meal. Right. So the appetizer, the entree. Right. So why? So we went to an Italian restaurant recently. It's all of his mother's Sicilian recipes. And so for him, it was very cool for us to hear and for him to come out. He's very passionate about each of the recipes. So it just adds that extra element of differentiation, right?
It's not just dinner. It's an event.
Correct. And then we
It's
sit
not
down.
just a movie. It's
No.
an event.
Absolutely. And we sit down and we have proposed questions like that invoke conversations at our tables. We have table leaders. I mean, so we really do our best to really make sure that when we walk away, that we know more about each other, right, than we did when we walked in. So, and more personal stuff. So, I think what was the question that we opened up with? What was one of the favorite things you did when you were a kid? Right? So,
That's
for me,
Not pay bills.
no. I mean, as you mentioned at the
Yeah.
beginning, right? It's like when you're a kid, it's so funny, right? When you're a kid, all you think is, I want to be older. I want to get
Yeah.
older. I want to do all these things.
Yeah.
And then as you're older, you're like, I just want to be 7 years old again.
No, now I'm ready to be 70. I want to be retired sitting on my patio watching this dumpster fire burn. Yeah. Kudos to the boomers. You guys nailed it. You got it all
Absolutely.
right at the pinnacle. All right.
Yep.
So, Scott, there's an
Yes.
elephant in the room here.
Please.
For me, for Jen, and for all of our viewers and listeners. This shit takes a ton of work. Getting it started and established that first time around. Oh man, what you put in just to do that first ambassador dinner for a few dozen people.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think you slept for a week.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's definitely, it's a lot of work because we're so focused on the details, right? To me, that's really what makes our events different, right? It's those little touches that we add, right? These elements, right? So our last board of ambassadors, we had a security card, checking names off. We had a red carpet. We had a step and repeat, right? I mean, all these little elements. When they walked in, they got Prosecco and a glass, right? So they got a nice little refreshing Prosecco when they walked in. So it's these little elements that we really focus on to make sure that it's just different. It adds that level of attention. And so that requires time, requires thought process. And but once you've done it, I mean, that's the other thing I don't want anybody here to watch this and go, oh my God, it's so much time. It is, right? But once you've done it once, you have the blueprint.
Yeah, it's systemized.
Exactly.
Absolutely.
It doesn't become that difficult after the second, third, fourth time. It becomes easier because you already have everything you did that worked, that didn't work. Now you're going to tweak a little bit differently. So, I encourage anybody who's watching this. I mean, I'll give one last thing on events, right? Because I'm a huge event guy. There was a Facebook post in a real estate community that said something about what are you doing to lead generate, I think is what the question was. And the answers, out of 400 answers, there was one person who talked about events.
Wow.
One. Everybody else was buying leads, was doing this, open houses, which don't get me wrong. There's value in all of those things, right? There's a purpose and a place for all of that.
Sure.
Right? But
Yeah, and you know full well, I'm never going to judge somebody for how they do their lead gen.
correct.
I'm just going to judge you if you don't do it.
Agreed.
Okay.
Agreed. And so I just think there's a vast opportunity for people to do events. And you don't have to do these big events that I do. You could do a taco and margaritas, right? I mean, you could just have a DJ and just invite people to an event. You could do a community park event. I mean, you don't have to do these big, grandiose events that we do. You could do smaller events. You could do block parties. I can't wait to do one in my area. I want to do a block party, which is super simple. We get the barbecue out, we get a DJ, and we invite everybody to come out and have a party.
Used to do them every now and then, and I'll do you one better. I actually have a stretch of street on the side of my house. You've been in my home, to my home. Both of you have. And I can literally block that street off without blocking traffic because there are like another, 2 or 3 ways to get around the neighborhood. And yeah, we can literally have a street party. And
I love it.
Even better than that, it means I don't have to have people in my home or in my yard, or we can keep it clean, that kind of thing too. So yeah, but I think that that's really a big deal. I think that a lot of the people that are unfamiliar with doing events, and again, I do think it's important that everybody, all of you watching, listening live in syndication, understand that this is scalable shit.
Mm-hmm.
You want to do something really simple and do an ice cream social?
Absolutely.
It can be that simple.
Yep.
You want to do something where you're going to set up a miniature golf tournament for 300 people? It can be that big. The difference here is that Scott takes imperfect action. I think that's really kind of the big speed bump that a lot of people are having. The psychological hang up is that I don't know how to get started. And you don't have to know. Just fucking do it. Just put together an event. You're going to make mistakes.
Absolutely.
And you're going to learn from them, and you're never going to make them again.
Yep.
And you're going to come up with things that you should have done and didn't.
Yep.
And you're going to implement those. I guarantee every year that golf tournament goes, it gets better and better and better. The
Absolutely.
movie event gets better and better and better. You are still
Absolutely.
never, ever going to have real snow in Santa Clarita. You're going to have to get over it. That's all that there is too. Although it's funny because as you say that, I'm reminiscent of an event many, many years ago. Well, not completely, but relatively unrelated. Most of you that are fans of the National Hockey League will know that we do outdoor games. And a stadium series is what the NHL calls it. And we did do some at Coors Field in Denver.
Nice.
There were 3, I believe. Colorado College played the University of Denver one night.
Okay.
There was a Detroit, Colorado alumni game.
Wow.
And if you remember, Detroit and Colorado used to be one of the greatest rivalries in sports. It was probably the most trophy-winning group of humans on the planet in one location. And then there was a legitimate Avs-Red Wings game for the third night. And for those of you that don't know, and I'm trying to keep it relatively secret, winters in Denver are really mild. They're warm, they're dry, they're very beige, but it's, we don't get winter weather until spring, and then it's warm enough that it doesn't really matter. That's not the mountains. But typical warm, dry February in Denver, they have brought in billows of cotton to appear it looks like snow on TV. But wouldn't you know, we had a windy day. And that shit is blowing all over Coors Field. There are people running around stapling the snow down to the grass, down to the baseball field, so that it would look like snow on TV. We're all out, and we don't have coats or hats or gloves.
Right.
It was like 3 beautiful evenings in a row, 60 degrees for the high during the day, that kind of thing. And yeah, making fake snow, even in a place where we should have snow, is no easy task. So kudos to you, Scott, for pulling off snow in Santa Clarita, which never, ever, ever, ever happens.
That's correct.
But yeah.
That's correct.
All right. So tell us some of the things that you've learned, some of the foibles, some of the follies. Where did we make missteps in our early movie events? Where did we make missteps in our earliest golf tournament events? And for those of you watching and listening, it's mini golf. It's not.
That's correct.
Typical golf tournaments.
Yeah, I mean, I think the early stuff is not have like the door prize entry form, right? So we did paper, right? So a first few events, and that was we weren't expecting the amount of work that was going to have to take to put all of those into an Excel sheet. I think I even still have some sitting behind me that we probably haven't entered into an Excel sheets because it's just that task alone. So we went to just a quick Survey Monkey, QR code, yes or no questions, boom. And then the data is done as soon as the event's over. I can export it, boom. So that was one of the big things we noticed right away.
Brilliant.
Yep.
Brilliant.
The other one is bags. Like we did, I think Star Wars we put little goodie bags for everybody. Oh my God.
Made that mistake. Yep. Never again.
Never again. No. It is. Me and Rick were at the office till like 4:00 in the morning the night before. Like,
We
just
remember.
no. So just no goodie bags. It's something they can grab candy, boom, you just dump it in a bag and then grab it real quick. So no goodie bags. Let's see what else. We didn't have a DJ and an MC originally, right? So once we added that element, that was the huge big piece. What else? Having a team, right? Doing regular meetings and doing something every week. I think that was the other thing that we realized is how important it is that we really look at the calendar and go, okay, what do we have to do between this and the next 7 weeks to get everything ready to go, right? So it's that, and having that laid out so we feel like we're progressing, because this is, I mean, I still do loans, right? I mean, this is just on top of it. So this is the stuff we do after hours. So that would be, I'm trying to think what else.
Yeah, actually, Scott, I don't think that's something that we should just gloss over. And
Sure,
Jen, yes, I
sure.
see that we're running out of time, or we're going to run over time. Get over it. The bottom line here for all of you, and obviously for the most part, our entire audience is loan originators and real estate agents, which is how you make a living. You make money closing loans. You
Absolutely.
don't make money making videos. You don't make money being on social media. You don't make money doing events. These are all supplemental
Correct.
to that, to your lead gen. So please don't lose sight of that. Please don't be in your office at 4 a.m. stuffing fucking goodie bags for 300 people that are going to complain your putt-putt tournament, because this is not your life.
Correct.
We're going to learn from those mistakes. But I do think it's important for everybody to understand that these are key pieces of a puzzle to enhance being a loan originator, to enhance being a real estate agent, which is really just about building relationships, finding borrowers, finding buyers and sellers. Please don't lose sight of that. Because, Scott, how much have you been paid as an event planner to date?
0.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, let's all keep focused on that for sure. All right. So, Scott, I do want our audience to know that with your development of these events, which we really do feel from people we see, people we've coached, people we've worked with, is really upper echelon. You're killing it with this stuff. So much so that we have developed an additional module for event planning for our loan originator and real estate agent coaching clients. And Scott is going to get involved for those of you that are early in the program, or will be future Just the Tips coaching clients. You will get a really good hands-on experience with event planning for your real estate or mortgage business. Before I let Jen take over, a couple of shouts out. John Jacobson, Scott, I believe you know. Thank you for your commentary, and hell yes, a DJ is key. Randall, good to hear from you. It's been a minute. Randall is a loan originator outside of the Austin, Texas area, an old fraternity brother, and we actually did get to spend a lot of time together the year I lived in, or I should say around Austin. And one that we'll all be familiar with. We did get a little nod from Heather Johnson Blair from Florida. Heather, good to hear from you. I'm sure Jen and Scott feel the same.
Hear, hear.
Hear, hear. All right, Jen, tell us the things we all need to know.
First off, I have to give a shout out to Riley. Somehow we have not mentioned Riley for the entire 33 minutes that we've been on this podcast.
And Scott, you missed Social Media Day.
I did.
Riley
killed it. In costume, Riley killed it. He, if I were going to paint a picture of a 20-something in the 80s, Riley, he killed it. It was like Don Johnson with a ponytail. Killer.
So for those that are wondering who the hell we're talking about, Riley does Scott's social media, some video work for Scott.
Yes.
He spoke at the Mile High Mastermind last year. We threw him up on stage, and he spoke at Social Media Day this year. I feel like Riley is like my chance to teach someone all the mistakes I made in this business 10 years ago, because he's very much in the same realm that I'm in. John just asked if there are pictures of Riley in his getup.
I have one in my phone that I have. I took a bunch, did a bunch of the editing, object remover, etc. It is the most killer picture. And where are you getting that comment?
Facebook.
All right.
Facebook.
John,
yes, we'll have to share that.
I will share that picture as soon as we're done here.
I love it. I love it.
But a huge shout out to Riley. He's killing it. He's been with you.
God, a couple years now. I think a couple years now. Yeah.
So couldn't let the podcast end without us giving that
absolutely
fair enough.
So that being said, if you want to learn more about event planning, Scott will be here next month.
Yes.
7
I will.
weeks. I think
that's
it's
right.
now,
Uh-huh.
for our 7th annual Mile High Mastermind. So we are very excited. And then we just came up with some fun ideas for those little add-ons for our event based on Scott being there. So tickets are for sale right now for that. It's September 29th and 30th at the University of Denver. Shout out to them for partnering with us on that event every year. It's really an opportunity. It's a mastermind event. So it's not some 300, 400 person event. It's a chance to be in an intimate space with some of the absolute most top badasses in primarily mortgage, but we have a couple real estate agents join us every year too. So again, September 29th, 30th. You can text TIPS to 63566 to get your tickets for that, to find out more about our coaching program, get past episodes of the show, copy of Adam's book, literally all the things. But come see Scott in 7 weeks right here in Denver.
Yeah, party!
And it'll be a good time. And we always have some kind of social event debauchery. In fact, just because the timing is so good, it was another very close friend and colleague of ours that had asked, as we're getting into mortgage and real estate conference season, and I won't go into why for decades we have always kind of moved all of this into the fall. I think you guys can figure it out based on having listened to me talk about lead gen and when we're doing it, when we're not doing it, and how that annual cycle appeared and continues. But they were asking, as they're putting together what conferences they want to see, what's the one thing you would want to get out of a conference? I said, Meow Wolf with Scott Edwards. And for those of you in the know, excellent. And if you don't, well, maybe
I'm
you
so
should
sad
come
I missed out on that.
Maybe you should come to Denver in the fall and find out. It was, without equivocation, one of the best nights I've had in years and years. So much fun. I have never laughed that hard as an adult, I don't think. So
That was pretty fun.
it was fantastic. All right. Take it away, Jen. Bring us home.
All right, guys, you can find us here every Monday at 10:30 Mountain Time. I think next week is Megan and Dre, so I think we're staying in the mortgage world here for a couple weeks.
Nice.
So that's
I
gonna
love
be a great
Megan and
one.
Dre.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, Megan and
I
Dre
think
do
they're
a
next
lot
week.
more than just the mortgage space.
Yeah,
That's
I'm
going to
really
be a
excited
great
for that.
episode.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure
but-
we've had Dre on.
We
We had
have
Megan
It was
on
year-
years ago.
We had Dre on years ago, and then we were like, why
Okay.
didn't we have them on at the same time?
I
So,
love
yeah, so tune in next week, 10:30 Mountain Time for that. But again,
Cool.
text TIPS to 63566 to find all the things about Just the Tips.
Thank you, Scott.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. It was an honor. Thank you so much, guys.